Rabbi from another planet. Please like, share, and subscribe. And ring that little bell so you're notified when new videos drop. I have been watching Doctor Who, the Abominable Snowman. Man, isn't it weird? Isn't it just weird times that we live in? You know, when I was a young whippersnapper, I would dream of being able to watch the Abominable Snowman, to experience these lost stories that, you know, that we've never seen. That dream sort of came true back in the 90s when Tomb of the Cybermen came back, and boy, that was even better than we thought of it. Tomb of the Cybermen, freaking excellent, right? And it was better than you hoped it would be, right? So that's really been the ongoing appeal of these reconstructions, to be able to experience the stories kind of in a organic way they have done before. You'd be able to do it with varying degrees of success. Let's say this is the last of the animations, and I don't see him coming back for many years. The reason this is last of the animations is Doctor Who is much less popular than it used to be a few years ago. Look, I can see on my channel, it's when there's Doctor Who is on TV. And a video about it will get anything from, I'm a smaller channel, so I'll get like 500, 1,000 views, something like when Doctor Who's on. When it's not on, like now it's like, a wasteland. Nothing's going on at all. It gets 200-300 views. It gets markedly less, right? So I can just see on my own, having a Doctor Who channel, you see how popular Doctor Who is. It's not popular enough to sustain these animations anymore, which is a great pity, because they needed one more to finish off the season 5 box set, and they're releasing a season 2 box set. It's I think there's one missing story on that. I think maybe. Is it the Crusade, which they're not animated, which is tragic, because I love the Crusade. The Crusade is one of my all-time favorite stories. Anyway, this is the last of them for a while. So this one, bit of a disappointment, not in the animation or the technology of it. It's the actual story, right? It's the opposite of Tomb of the Cybermen. It works as like a scary, dark 25 minutes on TV back in was it 1965 or 60, so whenever it was on, right? A spooky 25 minutes. Watching them all strung together back to back, you get kind of a loose, somewhat boring story, right? There's a lot of dead air in this story, and people attack the talons of Wing Chiang for a somewhat racist depiction of Chinese people or Oriental culture. I don't agree with that at all. This is way worse, right? This is where the whole thing is based around a 1960s attitude of Tibetan monks and culture, and so it's very very stereotypical. The depiction of the monks they're all very I don't want to do an impersonation of it, because then somebody could screen grab it and say, oh, look how racist you are, but it's like that, right? It's a bit Ching Chong Chinaman, right? But I think it's these things should be some kind of historical record, and we should be able to look back on who we were and appreciate it for the growth that we have had. And I don't really think it was that far off. Well, Gary Russell, who directed this, clearly disagrees with me, as we're going to get into in this review. Before we get into it, like, share, subscribe, comment, all those things are very, very good. Thank you very much. I'm very grateful to everybody doing that. That makes my life a lot better. And it does actually makes my life, it helps me tremendously. Especially, oh man, and why does everything have to be tied to politics? But because these midterms in America in a couple of months, my channel's getting throttled like hell. If I can pop through a 3,500 subscriber line, that releases me a little bit. I don't know. I really don't know. So if you can hit the subscribe button, that really helps. Thank you very, very, very much. Sign up my Substack. It's in the email newsletter. It's my email newsletter in the video notes. There you go. Let's get the words in order. Where you'll be able to find me when I am banned from YouTube for speaking unspeakable heresies. I also put a bunch of extra stuff in there, like old articles from Doctor Who magazine, things like this, things I just find fun to look at, right? That sort of thing. And it's free. Okay, it's free. Also, I have a paid one. It's $5 a month. I want to do like these art cards, these digital art cards. Started playing around with it, but then I was riding the Rona highway. I was sick for a couple of weeks. Still am coughing a bit, but pretty much, thank God, not taking any drugs to get through the day. Well, non-recreational drugs anyway. Don't do drugs, kids. It's bad for you. But if you do, right? If you smoke a ton of weed, right? If you smoke a ton of weed, watch Warriors Gate. You will have a good evening. But again, don't do drugs, kids. Would this story be better on drugs? No, it'll be too boring, right? There's a lot of big pregnant silences in this, right? Again, and so you got this like stereotypical kind of like fortune cookie-esque a Tibetan monk delivery for a lot of it, right? So everybody's speaking in like very low, calm voices with lots of pauses in between, which makes for not a very exciting story, I'm afraid. It's 6 episodes long. I think it would have been much better as 4 episodes. It would have zipped by a lot quicker. However, I don't know if I'm down on it because I watched it in the animation form or not. I get the feeling if I was watching the original, filmed copies, episodes, it'll be much more atmospheric, and I think I'll be drawn a lot more, a lot more into it. But the atmosphere does kind of die when you shift it to animation. I think this was the big problem that they had when they animated Fury from the Deep. They lost the atmosphere, and that was a story built on atmosphere. The one surviving episode, episode 2, is the best episode by far. And you see the Yeti coming chasing Jamie and not Zoe, Jamie and Victoria, and they're really scary, right? That one little bit where they come in, and even though they're big, fat, and cuddly, they're still kind of scary, right? So I think this one, just the animation didn't really work to convey the spookiness of it, right? And I'm like somewhat heartbroken because I adored Web of Fear. I mean, Web of Fear, I think, is one of the all-time classic awesome stories, right? It is fantastic, right? Absolutely fantastic. It's basically you got the great intelligence and the Yetis, and you take them out of like the COD Tibetan was it presentation, right? And you're in contemporary London, and it's much cooler, and it works a lot better, and it does work a lot better. It's lost. What do you want? They're doing their best, right? They're doing their best. So that's worth talking about. The animation. This is a marked improvement, right? An absolute marked improvement from Fury from the Deep, the last thing that this the production did. Essentially, it's big finish animation, I think. It flows much better. It's much more professional. It does more. Is it very good? It's not. Like I would not call this broadcastable standard, right? This is for insane fans who want to experience Lost Doctor Who. I only ever watched the black and white ones, but I watched a bit of the color as well, so I can review it. And they both work. I mean, honestly, they both I think are pretty darn good. Where it really does fall down is some of the design work. You have Patrick Troughton is in his famous big furry coat, Yeti-like coat in this, and they make it just very skinny, and it doesn't work, right? It's just not like what we've seen at all, right? It just doesn't work. So that's a problem. But the biggest problem is the redesign of the Abbot Pambabata, blah 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 blah, whatever his name is. So in the original, it was played by a big stocky English European actor, I believe, with some weird facial makeup, not to make him look Oriental, but like to make him look wizened, right? And so Gary Russell was like, "Well, that's ridiculous. That can't be." Look, Gary, mate, I don't understand why you're editorializing this. How do you know this wasn't a stranger that that didn't come from Tibet, that ended up, on a spiritual quest 300 years earlier and ended up in the Tibetan monastery? Could it be? I mean, but no. So he completely redesigned this character. And when you do that, you've got to make sure it's good, right? You've got to make sure you can pull out the goods, and you can't. The redesign is pathetic, right? And it's a big mistake they made, because again, when you do something like this, you're playing with fire. I understand your reasoning for it, but I think it's mainly driven by modern day sensibilities, where you get screamed at if you go, well, maybe having a penis doesn't means you can't be a woman, right? And this is the insane world that people like Gary Russell live in. I think a lot of people live in this insane world where freedom of speech has been eradicated, right? The freedom of speech is no more. It all happened during Trump and Brexit, and they all applauded. All the Gary Russells of the world applauded, said, "Yes, down with that sort of thing. Oh, yeah, crush them." And now they find they can't speak out about things they particularly disagree with, and they got to go along with this somewhat hateful racist ideology where everybody is evaluated only on their physical appearance, only on their identity. But I mean, as such, it was impossible for him not to change the design of Panda Bear, whatever. And it's a real failure. It's got a weird kind of crooked smile. So on the commentary, he was saying the idea was one side of his face should be smiling, one side of his grimacing, but it didn't work. He was like, you should have just stuck with the original, right? Stuck with something that looked somewhat like the original, because this was just a complete failure, right? A genuine complete failure. On already not a great story doesn't add up for greatness, right? Even that being said, though, the animation is absolutely much better. Is it at the level of Evil of the Daleks, which I think is the best one of the recent batch? It's around there. It's not a million miles away. Again, much better than Fury from the Deep, which I thought was very, very disappointing. So that's essentially the story. What else is on the disc? Well, you got all 6 episodes in black and white and in color, and you got an HD version of episode 2. You have the existing material from the late night lineup from episode 4. Quite a bit of 8mm home movie footage. They were all really excited to be taken to Mount Snowdon to film this, right? But Mount Snowdon, by the way, is it Snowdonia or Snow? I can't remember. Is actually quite a good representation of Tibet. Right, one of the interesting things on the commentary, they're talking about, like, should they make it covered in snow, or should they make it like it was, where there wasn't. They talked about snow, but there wasn't much to be seen, and they were going to make it covered in snow. Then they realized they had to worry about people's footprints all the time, but they have to count that. So thankfully, they went for recreating it instead of reinventing it, which I think works a lot. Again, I watched it in black and white, and it was okay. It was okay. There's also something on it called 31 Who, which was this just where my parents got satellite TV, right? It was the week after the Doctor Who weekend on BSP, which was their last valiant attempt to not be bought by Sky, the Sky satellite back in the day, back in the 80s. But you had this weekend of Doctor Who programming with John Nathan Turner in it, and they interviewed was it Mervyn Haseman about the series. It's an okay interview. It's not bad at all. What was excellent, however, was the Trout in Tibet documentary, the making of the Abominable Snowman. This was excellent because you just have this stunning, absolutely stunning, was it drone photography of all around where they filmed again, it's Snowdonia or Snow, I can't bloody remember. They put the TARDIS in exactly the same place that it was, and Fraser Hines is there, and I think and the makeup girl is there. Fraser Hines says, "Look at that! You even bought me a makeup girl, right?" So, you do get the feeling that the John Barrowman-esque antics that we are so heavily condemned in this modern Puritan age were kind of normal, right back then. There's a great little story from Deborah Watling in an archive interview, because she's dead. That how she went out on a date with one of the people playing the Abominable Snowman, and she was like, he was like way taller, about getting her father to be in it. Generally speaking, it was an interesting and engaging documentary hosted by Toby Hadoke, who yes, his love for it just pours out, right? So that was excellent. What else is on there? Photo gallery, teaser trailer. Let me see. And they got reconstructions with telesnaps, which kind of worked better in a lot of ways. Like, what I did was, when I was watching it, I would go from the animation, and I would see how they did it in the original version. And again, a lot better. The original version of the Abbot was a lot creepier and a lot better. And all the original special effect of the Abbot dying, they cut out. And Fraser Hines and Deborah Watling in archive footage all say that was Patrick Troughton saying that's too gruesome. You cannot air that. It was too gross. So maybe that did happen. Is this a recommend? Well, it is for me. Like, I can't imagine this coming out and not buying it, right? Like, well, I'm not getting it. I have everything else. How am I not gonna get that? Is it a recommend? Look, just on its pure value as a piece of entertainment, I would say no, actually. Really not. Whereas Evil of the Daleks, right? Yes, absolutely. As a Doctor Who fan, as somewhat of a completist, yes, of course it's a recommend. How can you live with it? With not having it? That's the insanity on which they sold it. Sadly, again, there's far fewer of us now. The sad state of Doctor Who as a franchise has been, in my opinion, decimated by the current era, which has just driven away a viewership, over and over again, until, again, these sort of things are just not financially viable anymore. Look, it hasn't been the first time these animations stopped. They did the first one with Cosgrove Hall, the Invasion, which probably one of the better ones. Then they did a second batch, and that's great. And then they finally worked out a third way. Who knows? Maybe Rusty Davis will be able to get the Sony animation in, and we can get some fantastic versions of the ones they've already recreated, or the ones that are sadly still missing, still holding out for there being a big treasure trove somewhere of all these stories showing up. Wouldn't that be fantastic? As Rusty Davis say, oh, just imagine. Until then, if you're a Doctor Who basket case such as myself, we have this. And if you're somebody just looking for good Doctor Who entertainment, maybe look elsewhere. My name's Tzvi Lebetkin, the Rabbi from another planet. Please like, share, and subscribe, and ring that little bell. Ring the little bell so you're notified when new videos drop.